Okay, let's jump right in. For almost all of human history, things stayed, well, pretty much the same, didn't they?
Yeah, generation after generation, life had a certain rhythm, a consistency.
Exactly. But what if we're right on the edge of something totally different? A massive shift. Some big names in Silicon Valley are actually predicting that artificial intelligence will be better than the average person at all thinking tasks.
Yeah.
And not in decades, but maybe just a few years.
It's a bold claim, a really bold claim.
It is. Now, look, you hear a lot about the scary stuff, right?
Yeah.
The AI hellscape plots.
AI, bioweapons, all that.
Yeah, the sci-fi nightmare scenarios. And okay, those get headlines. But our mission here in this deep dive is to maybe cut through some of that noise. We want to focus on something that's just as amazing, but feels much more, well, immediate, more probable. The huge economic changes coming from AI, even if it doesn't go rogue.
Right. Focusing on the near-term plausible economic shifts based on analysis, like that piece in The Economist about the economics of superintelligence.
Exactly. So why should you tune in? Because this isn't just, far-off speculation. This is about understanding the economic wave that's already starting to build.
It gives you a lens to see beyond the dramatic headlines.
Yeah, a shortcut to grasp the upheaval. And honestly, the speed we're talking about, it's kind of mind-blowing.
It really is. I mean, what's genuinely striking is how AI just keeps smashing expectations.
Right.
Yeah, predictions made just a few years ago look almost quaint now. Benchmarks are just being blown out of the water.
Can you give an example, something concrete that shows just how far off the predictions were?
Sure. The sources mentioned this one large language models, from OpenAI, Google DeepMind. They actually got gold medals in the International Mathematical Olympiad.
Whoa, okay. Math Olympiad gold. That's complex reasoning.
Exactly. And the kicker is, experts back in 2021, they predicted that might happen maybe 18 years later.
18 years sooner.
18 years, almost 2 decades ahead of schedule. It really shows how our usual way of predicting struggles with this kind of exponential curve.
So what's pushing it so fast? What's the fuel for this fire?
It's really this intense arms race dynamic.
Okay.
You've got the big tech firms, OpenAI, Google, Meta all scrambling, sort of a winner-takes-all mindset.
Right. They don't want to be left behind.
Not at all. And then layered on top of that, you have nations, especially China and America, locked in this competition. Neither wants the other to get a decisive AI edge.
So it's company versus company and country versus country.
Driving
huge investment.
Huge. The projections are pretty staggering. Like, by 2027, they expect we could be training models with maybe 1,000 times the computing power used for GPT-4.
1,000 times. Wow. Imagine what that can do.
It's hard to even grasp the potential leap.
But isn't there something else, something that makes this different from, say, previous tech races?
Yes, absolutely. The self-improvement aspect. That's the potential game changer.
AI making itself smarter.
Essentially, yes. Sam Altman at OpenAI, he expects AI to start generating genuinely novel insights maybe next year.
Novel ideas, not just processing existing data.
That's the prediction. And what's more, AIs are already being used to help program better AIs. Right now.
Okay, that feels like a feedback loop.
It is. And some people think that by, say, 2028, AIs could be largely overseeing their own improvement. That's when the acceleration could really take off.
Right. To try and get a handle on this kind of speed, maybe we can look back, like the Industrial Revolution.
That's a really useful comparison. Before about 1700, world economic growth was, well, glacial. Maybe 8% growth per century.
Per century, okay. Pretty flat.
Very flat. Then the Industrial Revolution happens, and over the next 300 years, that average growth jumps to 350% per century.
Huge difference. An explosion, really.
Definitely an explosion of wealth creation. Unprecedented at the time.
But even that explosion had limits, didn't it? It wasn't infinite acceleration.
That's a crucial point. The Industrial Revolution, as world-changing as it was ultimately paced by humans.
How so?
Well, you needed to train people. People needed to move to cities. You needed more inventors, more workers. You needed human brains and bodies.
And you can only grow the population or educate people so fast. Demographic limit.
Exactly. Demographic constraints, education bottlenecks, all that stuff.
Which is why growth eventually settled into that. Still impressive, but steadier 2% per year we're used to now.
Okay, so contrast that with AI.
Well, that's the core question, isn't it? What happens if you remove the human bottleneck? AI doesn't have demographic limits.
Right, it can scale differently.
Potentially, vastly differently. If AI can speed up discovery itself, if computing power leads to breakthroughs without needing a human brain for every step.
And then you reinvest the gains from those breakthroughs.
Into building more computing power, better AI. You could get this cycle of wealth accumulating at a speed we've just never seen.
So are we really talking about a second economic explosion? Is that what the sources suggest is possible?
Some people definitely think so. The true believers, you might call them.
Like who?
Well, figures like Elon Musk argue that self-improving AI leads inevitably towards superintelligence.
Okay, the superintelligence idea. What does that even mean economically? In that view, it's like unlocking almost infinite ideas. Blueprints for perfect robots, super efficient energy reactors, faster than light travel. Okay, maybe not that last one.
Maybe not. But basically, solutions to almost any problem.
Limited only by physics, not by human ingenuity or lifespan. It's a vision of, well, almost limitless growth.
That sounds pretty extreme, though. Do we need superintelligence for massive change?
No, not necessarily. Even more grounded analyses predict huge shifts. Take that think tank, Epoch AI.
Or they say.
Their modeling suggests that once AI can handle just 30% of tasks currently done by humans, annual economic growth could jump past 20%.
20% compared to our current 2.
10 times faster. That's a fundamentally different world, even without full-blown superintelligence.
Okay, 20% growth. Let's make this tangible. What does this actually mean for, regular people? Let's start with jobs, the labor market.
Right. The most immediate impact is probably wage pressure. Think about it. If an AI can do a task for a certain cost, the cost of the computing power, essentially, why would an employer pay a human much more than that to do the same task?
So the cost of the AI sets a kind of ceiling on human wages for that task.
That's the potential dynamic, yes. Your digital competition puts a cap on your pay.
Does that hit everyone equally? Or does it create winners and losers?
Very likely winners and losers. It could amplify the superstar effect we already see in some fields.
Okay, explain that.
A relatively small number of people whose skills are really unique, hard to automate, and complement what the AI does, they could see enormous rewards. They become incredibly valuable.
The people who can leverage the AI most effectively.
Exactly. And maybe even bigger winners, the people who own the AI-relevant capital.
Meaning the owners of the AI companies, the data centers, the chip manufacturers.
Precisely. They could capture a rapidly growing share of all the economic output.
So superstars and capital owners do well. What about, well, everyone else? How do they fit in?
That's where it gets complicated. Sources suggest they adapt to where AI can't easily reach, tasks that still need a human touch.
Like what?
Think about things like childcare, elder care, maybe craft skills, some types of restaurant service, areas where automation hits a bottleneck.
Okay, so demand for those human skills might rise.
Yes, but it could lead to this weird phenomenon called cost disease.
Cost disease. Sounds unpleasant.
It means that in those sectors where human labor remains essential and automation isn't taking over, wages and prices could actually rise really fast because human labor becomes relatively scarce and expensive compared to everything else.
So hang on, let me see if I get this. Stuff made by AI or robots like TVs, maybe even cars get super cheap.
Potentially, yes. Anything from a fully automated factory, digital goods, entertainment value could collapse.
So good news if you want cheap stuff.
In a way. But the flip side is that haircut you get, the meal at a local restaurant, childcare. Those things rely on human time, which is now comparatively much more expensive.
They become the new luxuries.
Exactly. Human-centric services could become disproportionately costly. It's weird because GDP growth measured in the usual way might even look limited because of this, even while the underlying economy is transforming like crazy.
And someone who, say, loses a knowledge job to AI and switches to one of these manual or service jobs.
They might find they can actually afford less of that childcare or fewer restaurant meals than they could before, even if their nominal wage seems okay.
That's counterintuitive.
Yeah.
And are there other resource pressures?
Yeah, potentially. We might end up in direct competition with AI systems for things like energy or even land if AI deployment becomes massive.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
so shifting labor, weird price changes.
Yeah.
What about the financial markets? How do they react to all this potential chaos?
You'd expect immense volatility. Think about it. These are winner-takes-all dynamics playing out.
Identifying the winning AI companies versus the losers.
Exactly. Stock prices could swing wildly as that becomes clearer. You'd also likely see this almost desperate scramble to invest.
Invest in what? More AI.
More AI, more computing power, the infrastructure needed to keep up with that potential 20% growth. A huge demand for capital.
But wait, you also mentioned people might save less. especially the wealthy.
Right. That's the tension. If you genuinely believe your income is going to be vastly higher in the near future thanks to AI growth, why save aggressively now? The incentive to save could plummet, particularly for those expecting big gains.
So massive demand for investment capital, but potentially collapsing savings. How does that square?
It probably squares with much, much higher interest rates.
How hot are we talking?
Well, in that explosive 20% growth scenario, the sources speculate maybe 20%, even 30% annual interest rates might be needed to persuade people to postpone consumption and provide the capital.
20 or 30% interest rates. That would upend everything.
It absolutely would. Think about asset prices, long-term bonds, maybe even real estate. Their prices could fall sharply, even while the economy is supposedly booming.
Because future money isn't worth as much discounted back at those high rates.
Exactly. And imagine trying to refinance debt mortgages, business loans at those kinds of rates. It could be incredibly difficult for many.
So, wrapping this up then, we're not just talking about cool new gadgets or smarter search engines.
Not at all.
AI seems poised to trigger a really profound and quite immediate economic shift, way beyond the sort of Hollywood apocalypse stuff.
It touches everything. Jobs, wages, the cost of goods, financial stability. It's fundamental.
It really reshapes the whole economic landscape.
Which leaves you, the listener, with a pretty big question to mull over, doesn't it?
Go on.
As AI redraws the lines of everything, work, value, finance, what new kinds of abundance will we see? And just as importantly, what new kinds of scarcity will emerge? And maybe the biggest question, how does human ingenuity adapt and find ways to thrive in that completely new landscape?